Welcome back to the Precision Trader University. In this video, just want to go over, cover some things that we could have taken away from the market today using Bookmap. Very powerful leading indicator. Allows us to see where buyers are setting, buying and sellers are setting in the stock market with rested orders. We can see this in a nice heat map. Gives us a nice heat map visual. Of course, quick crash course here. Whenever we get our colors to red and orange, that's where the highest concentration of buyers and sellers are looking to take part of the market. So with that said, we know with our bias of using this powerful tool, and also to the other indicators we'll cover here shortly. Also to a reminder towards the end, we'll do a for members in the server. Just want to cover the SPY ES for today, see what we could have got out of that as well. But in this portion right here, we're just going to cover a handful of stocks with Bookmap. With that said, just a few things to keep in mind when you're using this extremely powerful tool. One, the market gravitates to large levels of liquidity. Okay, it acts as a gravitational pull, tractor beam to those levels. So our bias is always towards the larger levels of the liquidity in the closest proximity. So with that said, our orange and red levels are our large levels of liquidity. One nice reminder here is if you're wanting to, there's a stock in particular that you're very interested in for the day, always check it out on the pre-mark. Look where the major liquidity is sitting in the pre-market, the large amount of buyers and sellers are sitting. So with that said, to be able to see the largest amount of buyers and sellers, the high liquidity, we always want to check out the $5 increments over here on the right side. Once you start going in, to the smaller increments, the dollar, the 50 cent and all that, you got to realize you're going to see a lot more noise. Once you get out to the $5 increments, now you can see where the big money is sitting. That's the areas that you want to have a strong bias towards. So with that said, this is Tesla here in the pre-market. So we had some nice liquidity up here at 250 and also 255, and then also a ton of liquidity down here at 240. So again, this is our major areas that we're expecting, Tesla to potentially get to today. So with that said, let's get into the market open. See what happens here. Again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can get a little bit more insight. Again, like I mentioned, the deeper you go in, the more increments you'll be able to see a lot more liquidity. Again, we want to reduce that amount of noise. Again, the idea we're looking for is to be able to see significant liquidity in the book. So we start out the day, the market as a whole starts pumping really hard. And sure enough, Tesla starts going right along with the market, starts pumping up. Where does it pump up to? Right up into this 255 liquidity. Again, that was one of the major liquidities from the pre-market. And again, once we get to these major levels of liquidity, there's three strategies that we want to take advantage of. One is the short scalping strategy just at or right in front of this major liquidity above. The other one is the push-through strategy. In essence, what we would do is we would be looking for it to push $1 or so through this liquidity, and then we're going to play the free money back to it on the retest and even the continued dump through that. The final strategy is we're looking for it to play the momentum. We're looking for it to absorb the liquidity, get on top of it, find support, wick off, and continue to the upside to the next major level of liquidity. So that's the three strategies that you have to take, that you want to use to really be extremely successful with Bookmap. So you just have to learn which one works better in which situation. Again, when the market's pretty volatile, we tend to rely on the push through strategy. So we're gonna want to see it get to these major levels of liquidity, push through them about $1 or so. And then we're going to look to play the free money back to that. And ideally, more times than not, we're going to play the continued pullback or the pump, depending on what side it's on. So with that said, market pumps, gets up here to 255, proceeds to dump it all the way back into the 252s. So again, the short scalp strategy would have worked beautifully on that. We see later in the day, they finally come up, they finally absorb that liquidity. Finally absorb that liquidity there at 255. What happens there? In this case, they do exactly what we like to take advantage of with our push through strategy. They push straight up to the next about $1 above that, which was 256, and then from there they proceed to dump it all the way back into the 253s. So in this situation, this is the one. This is the one that ideally would have liked to have seen it here, but like I said, they gave us both strategies on that. One after the other. So again, the short scalp here worked perfectly, and then the push through right here. So very nice there. They push it back up to 256 again. They proceed to pull it back at the end of the day, and then we get the big news. As soon as I started seeing this candle, I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and I asked them, I said, what is the news? What's the news? So with that said, they proceed to dump it straight. In this situation, when you start seeing a hard dump like this, please do not be trying to buy the dip. Okay? The first place you even want to remotely think about buying the dip is when it gets to major, falls down to major liquidity. You want to buy a quick bounce there, which we did in our live voice trading chat. We bought played a quick bounce here, 249, 250, got a quick $2-3 pop, got out of there. Again, in situations like this, we're just, we'll take that quick money. We do not want to be sitting into something and it just keep going and going and going. With that said, they finally dump it all the way back down to the 245 liquidity, give us some nice bounce off of that all the way back to 250 liquidity. And from there, they eventually bleed it out all the way down. See, they absorb our 245 liquidity, absorb it, come back, retest it, reject off of it. We know that whenever they do that, in essence, they're momentum to the downside. Again, anytime you see momentum or liquidity that's absorbed, and then they start rejecting on it, same here. It's major liquidity at 255. They absorb it, they come back, they start start getting rejection candles, wicks. That's a clear sign they want to push it to the next major level of liquidity. So same thing happens here. They absorb, come back up, start getting wicks off of it. That's a clear sign that they want to continue it down to the next major level of liquidity, which was 242 in this case. So anyway, and with that said, the market popped the rest of the day, and Tesla went for the ride right back up to the next major liquidity that was available, which was 250. And if I'm not mistaken, they finished it somewhere around there. Yeah. So yeah, that was Tesla. Let me see, what else did we have here? CCL, we played that on Friday. We were able to catch it when it came down to the 7. That was another beautiful example on Bookmap with CCL on Friday. Ones were, whenever they had the big dump after the earnings, ones were at, okay, where to buy the dip? I'm like, let's see, where is Bookmap telling us it'd be a smart place to start buying some dips. So $7, that's where the major liquidity was. So we let it dump all the way to $7, played the entry there, got the nice bounce up to $7.50. Those contracts went up 100-200% expiration day, so those worked out extremely well. So if you want to see that play, feel free to go to the server and check that out. What else was out there today of interest? Twitter. Be conscious. There's a lot of liquidity sitting at $55 on Twitter. I know they had the announcement with Elon today, so expect to push up to 55. I know they halted that unfortunately they halted that. We were looking forward to taking advantage of that. What else there was sticking out? Let's check out NVIDIA. What we could have learned from NVIDIA. All right, so NVIDIA here. Now, whenever we see this, all this major liquidity above, again, the stock started at 129-ish today. All this liquidity up here, we're looking for a gravitational pull up to this major liquidity here, because there was no major liquidity below on this push, so we expect it to get to here, 131 to 133, all these levels here. Sure enough, it gets to them, but again, once it gets to them, we expect some pullback. So again, You know, you want some high probability money? Well, you can play to this major liquidity, but once it starts getting up here to this 131, 132, again, you're going to be expecting some pullback. Sure enough, they pull it all the way back to 130 and eventually back to around the low of the day. Pump it right back up here to this 132 liquidity, and then they proceed to dump it off again. Again, the highest probability strategy of the three strategies, of course, is the push through, and then from there it's the short right at, you know, major liquidity above. So in this case, 132. Again, if you're looking for some high probability money here, you know, let it get up to this, and then hey, you're playing that quick pullback money. You know, in this case, back to the VWAP, very high probability, nice dollar dump there. So yeah, nice money to be made there. Let me see one that is a good example of one you wouldn't have wanted to touch today because it just wasn't, you know, there. Come over here to the $5 increments. Yeah, you got some up here at 145, all the way down at 130. But really, once you get past that, I mean, there really wasn't, yeah. You had a little bit up here at 142, and it kind of like with NVIDIA, rejected off that multiple times. But yeah, no, yeah, nothing really interesting on Meta there. So anyway, so that'll do it for the Bookmap portion. As far as stocks, I want to jump into the SPY ES for server members here. Just want to just a reminder, just an overview of, because again, we rely on the SPY and ES to give us, again, we know they lead the market. SPY ES, I mean, they're interchangeable. So with that said, what could we have learned, or how could we have used the ES today to give us a nice bias that the market wanted to do exactly what it wanted to do today, which was push? All right, so we see here, this is our open today, right in this area. Again, look at all this major liquidity to the upside. I mean, just beautiful. So again, our bias was the suck up to this liquidity. And what did they do? They sucked right up to it. And as expected, once they get to it, they pulled off of it. They eventually push back up, absorb it, get support. And then major liquidity starts coming in above here, 37.80. And then what did they do? They suck right into it. Okay, pull off here initially. They push back up to it, pull off of it again. Because again, before we can get the confirmation for momentum, we have to see it push through like it did here, come back, retest, you know, test it, and then that gives us confirmation they want to head up. So in this case, if you're riding momentum profit, you do not hold your profit, you know, that nice profit into major levels of liquidity. So in this case, like I said, you see these levels right here, these monster levels right there, these orange and reds, man, that is not the areas that you want to be holding your profit into. So again, don't give back your hard-earned profit. Let it absorb that level, and once it shows that it can get on top of it and hold support right there, then you know you're good. All right, so in this case, pushes up here, rejects off of it. Finally, they push it all the way back up. And again, it's absorbed, so they have to push through it and show that they can get support on it. So what do? They push up, pull back. There's your support on this previous major level. Okay, that's your indication that they want to head where? To the next major level. Where was the next major level? Up here. This is where they wanted to get. And just like gravity, they sucked it right up into it. And then what did they do? Once they finally got it there, they dumped it off of it. So, again, you see the common theme here. Expect the push, the gravitational pull into the major level of liquidity. Okay, and then once it gets there, you better be taking profit. Do not try to hold through those areas. You let it absorb, pull back, retest, and then if you want to jump back in, that's fine. Just don't let the market, this market is expert. This is an expert market in taking money back. So with that said, we see the market drifted lower later in the day, or about midday. The problem was what happened? I mean, there was still all this liquidity up here. There was little to no liquidity below. So all these pullbacks, we were expecting them to just suck it right back up. We talked about it all day. And sure enough, that's what they continued to do. Every time it would come down, they would knock it down off of all this liquidity up here, which was filled with sellers. They'd suck it right back up to it. And again, look at all this liquidity up here. They ultimately wanted to get back into this. This is where they wanted to get. This was the goal. You just had all this front-running liquidity in front of it with all these sellers front-running it. But this is where they wanted to get back to. And finally, what happens? They finally get to it. And when they got to it, what do you think they did? They dumped right back off of it. So, dumped back off of it. Buyers came in here. They pushed it right back up to it. And then finally, they dump off of it again. Push back up to it. Dump off it again. And then finally, once they absorb all this liquidity up here, where's the major liquidity at now? It's down here. So once they absorbed all this up here, what were we saying in voice chat? Look for them to bring it down here. So this was just a textbook day of understanding that the market gravitates towards major liquidity. So very, very clear. With that said, how could we have used our other indicators from our precision indicator course? We know, of course, we have Bookmap, our Bookmap education there. But let's also look at our charts and see what else we could have learned from today. Now, if you're not familiar with any of the previous videos, I cover this in more detail. But what do we see? Our lines here, these lines on the chart, these are algo levels. These are calculated levels where institutions and computers like to buy and sell off of. Again, algos, computers, they have to have algorithms, calculations on which to buy and sell off of. Okay, they got to give these computers something to buy out and sell off of. So we've been able to find some of these calculations. Not saying we have all of them, but we have some really good ones showing us where there's likely going to be buying and selling for institutions and computers. So with that said, we know when we have nice gaps like we have here, beautiful gaps in these algos, we know that that is a clear sign the market has just free range to just run. And we know that once it gets into these gaps between these algos, gets support on one, it wants to run to the one above and vice versa to the downside. So with that said, we see that we started the day at one, an algo, nice algo down here. Where did they pump to? Pump it up here. This next algo, they come back, get support on it. So with that said, we played it. Once we seen it pop through right here, played it in voice chat. We played a quick pullback to it, because anytime you see a quick punch through one of these algos, they are retested 90-something% of the time. So when I see this quick punch through right there, easy pullback money into that algo. And then, but again, once you see them start wicking off there, or ideally once they get back to it, you take that profit and run. Or once you start seeing the wicks off it, you're playing the continuation where to the next algo above. So in this case, they get it to this algo, pull it off, and then bam, they blast through. Now the key here is this right here was very important. They did not pull back and retest this algo right here once they blasted through it. So like I mentioned, for the next hour, whatever it was, hour and a half, hey, I 100% expect the market to have to come back to this 375, 32 algo and retest it before the day is over. Not that they can't, get it down there and then pop it back up, but they're going to come back and retest this sometime today. So they blast through, end up punching it all the way up to our next algo, which was 377.44-ish. Again, we were definitely shorting all up in this area, 376, 377. We it was all over that. We see it gets to 377, keeps pulling back. We got a smaller algo right here, lighter color algo right here. Again, I prioritize them as far as the the ones that give you the highest probabilities. Not that this is a bad algo, it's just not as powerful as as the algos in bold here, but same time still valuable. They pull it back on it multiple times during the day, pop it back up to this algo. Can you imagine the people that were sitting there thinking all day, what in the world is at 377.44 that this market keeps rejecting off of? Well, that's your algos for you. So with that said, multiple attempts up there all day. And where did they eventually dump it back to? They eventually dump it back to my 375.32 algo. Quick pop off of it. They continue to sell off, bring it all the way down to the big algo here at 374, 374.15. Pop it off to the penny. And where do they push it to? Right back up to the algo above. Again, we covered this in our SPY ES channel as far as this was unfolding right here, about how this was being a good spot to buy the dip, and then of course take the profit back on the retest there. At this point, chop, chop, chop. No way to know where exactly they're going at this point. And then finally they do push it up into the end of the day. Well, guess where they push it back up to? All the way back up to that 377.44 algo. And they proceed to dump it back close to all the way back to the 375.32 algo. And then the last hour of the day, they just run it. So with that said, extremely valuable stuff there. Of course, with our ignition candles, we could have definitely played ignition starting throughout the day. Let me see if I can get my okay, there's my ignition candles. Let me get this on the 2-minute time frame here. So we know another strategy we'd like to take advantage of is our opening range break 2-minute candle here. So 2-minute candle, again, it has to be at least about a 40 to 50 cent candle for it to be a valid candle. We get that on the open, we pull back into it, and then bam, blast off. So that was very nice. And then from there, all of these ignition candles, again, the ones with the symbols on top, these are ignition candles. These are candles that institutions are investing a lot of money in. So with that said, we know they want to protect them. So when we see that, we have a very high probability of success. So the biggest one today, the key one was really the second one of the day right there. That is our textbook ignition candle to start the day. A lot of money invested in that candle. They want to do everything they can to protect it. So with that said, our strategy with that is we're going to play the momentum, put our stop loss just behind this candle, play with the ignition candles. We ended up getting another one here. Again, at this point, the stop is no longer down here. It has moved to here below this ignition candle, and we're going to play the continuation up. Finally get another ignition candle right here. We see that they pull it back. Again, the stop losses moved back to here. And again, all in this push up, there's nothing wrong with taking you some profit there. But at the same time, again, you're following it up with these ignition candles. So another one here. And then finally, once we get this one right here, I told everyone in voice, I was like, man, this candle right here, this is ending, which textbook ending volume here. Blast up straight up into the algo. Yeah, this was, like I told him, I said, this is 100% going to be given back. They're going to give this candle back. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So with that said, they give it back very quick and in a hurry. So anyway, so that was all pretty textbook there. So with that said, it was really a beautiful price action day. So yeah, nothing surprising on the day. Like I said, we were looking for them to dump it a little bit quicker than they did. It took a while. For us to get back into this area and this area, but they finally did. So anyway, with that said, I hope this session helps you out. Feel free to go check out the server if you're not already there. Like I said, a lot available for ones to take advantage of and learn. So with that said, thank you for watching this video, and enjoy the rest of your evening.